presentation that is going to be shared. You'll be shared via as you have already registered. Please ensure you minimize the background noise and stay on mute. Don't interrupt. When it comes to a Q&A session, you can raise your hands, unmute yourself, and then you can ask the question. You can also use the chat box for comments or asking questions as well. So this topic is very exciting and actually very much needed. As you guys are all aware, women are still largely underrepresented on corporate boards, not only here in Tanzania, but even globally, even across Africa and global. And of course, progress is ongoing, but the trend is still slow. So why is it slow and what measures can be taken? Studies have repeatedly shown that increasing diversity is not only the right thing to do for an organization's culture, but it leads to better business outcomes, and also increased diversity leads to smarter decision making, contribute to an organization's bottom line, and powers innovation, among other benefits. We are very excited to have two wonderful guests, Mrs. Margaret Congo, as well as Mr. Johnny Ulanga. A little bit about the speaker's bio. Ms. Margaret Congo is an independent insurance consultant. She has extensive financial and corporate governance expertise, which were gained from her career in the insurance industry, where she was the managing director of National Insurance Corporation for a period of 10 years. Margaret Congo was appointed to Boardroom, Tanzania as an independent non-executive director. She's also the chairperson of the Audit, Risk and Compliance Committee. In the past, she has served in the position of non-executive director at NMB. She has also served on different boards such as Continental Reinsurance, Nairobi, Kenya, AAR Insurance, which is now Assemble Insurance, and she's currently the executive chairperson for Actuarial and Risk Consulting. She holds a postgraduate diploma in financial management from the Institute of Finance Management and an MBA in finance from the Open University of Tanzania, international diploma in enterprise risk management from the Institute of Risk Management, UK. She's also a chartered insurer with ACII from the Chartered Insurance Institute, UK. We also have Johnny Ulanga, who is the regional director for Trademark East Africa. Before joining Trademark, Mr. Ulanga was the Vice President, External Affairs and Sustainability for BG East Africa, Tanzania and Kenya. And prior to that, Mr. Ulanga was the Executive Director for Foundation for Civil Society and the Economic Social Research Foundation, which is ESRIF. Mr. Ulanga sits on several boards, such as Chairman of the University Council of Hubert Kairuki Memorial University, Dar es Salaam, Chairman of the Board of Directors, Financial Services for Undeserved Settlements, known as TAFSAS, member of the Board of Directors of Wananchi Communication Limited, publishers of the Citizen, Wananchi and Wana Supporting newspaper, member and vice chair of the Board of Directors, Tanzania Media Foundation, a board member of KCB Tanzania, and a member of USAID Tanzania Advisory Group. He's also a member of One Campaign Africa Policy Advisory Board. He also is a fellow of African Leadership Initiative East Africa and the Aspen Global Leadership Network of the Aspen Institute, and a civil society studies at the Graduate State of University of New York. So we welcome you guys all. I would like to start with Ms. Margaret Congo. Maybe perhaps you can come here on the stage and tell us more about your board career journey. How did you get to this point? How were you able as a woman to attain these wonderful board opportunities? Thank you so much. Karibu.
Thank you very much, Nike. Do you want me to put my video on? Or?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that bio, that introduction. And indeed, it is an exciting topic, which is really should be done by ourselves as women. I know John is here, you will not mind, but we need as women to encourage each other, to show each other the way on those areas where women are less. And so coming to me now, my journey in terms of directorship spans over 20 years. I first became a board director in the year 2001. And I sat in a board for about 5 years as the only female in the board. So you can imagine 2001, this topic was not even being talked about. So how did I get into boards? First of all, there were where I was a director in a board by virtue of my position. So this particular one I'm talking about in 2001, by virtue of my position as a managing director at NIC, I was appointed by my colleague to sit in a board of Africa Reinsurance Corporation, which is based in Lagos, Nigeria, to represent the East Africa as shareholder. So I served in that board from 2001 to 2004. And then in 2002, again, by virtue of my position at NIC, I was appointed again by my colleagues to serve in the board of Zepri Insurance Company, which is based in Nairobi, Kenya, to represent at that time NIC and Tanzania. So I served in that board from 2002 to 2009. I also served in the board of NMB, as we have said, from 2009 to 2021, June this year. My joining NMB came from what we call headhunt. One of the shareholders was looking for someone to represent them on the board. Someone gave them my name, they contacted me, and I joined the board. I also sat in the board of NSSF Tanzania as a trustee from 2013 to 2016. This one was by virtue of appointment from the government, the appointing authority. And then now how I joined the board of Vodacom, this was by application. Vodacom advertised that they are looking for a director, and I sent in my application. And as a Continental Reinsurance, again, I was headhunted. They were looking for an independent director. They contacted me in 2014, and then I joined the board. The same applies for Assemble Insurance, formerly AERA. In 2014, they looked for me, they contacted me, and then I joined the board. The reason I'm trying to explain how I joined the board is very key for me, that there are different ways one can join a board, either by virtue of your position, or by being headhunted, or by actually applying for the position. So that is my journey.
Thank you so much, Margaret. I would also like to hear from Mr. John Ulanga about also his career and also his board journey. How is he able to secure all these board opportunities? Mr. John, please come to the stage.
Thanks a lot, Nike. Good afternoon, everyone. A pleasure to share the panel with my sister, Mrs. Margaret Ikongo. It's the second time, and we always have to discuss about women related issues, either in board or leadership. Looking back, my journey in board, my first board position was in the year 2005, where I got a call. I remember, are you Mr. John Ulanga? Yes. Would you be interested to join the board of directors of the Foundation for Civil Society? And I was like, who, me? I didn't think anybody would call me for a board position. But looking back, why did I get that call? And let me probably start by saying that. It was a result of about 5 years of preparing, not for a board position. When I got this call, I was working with the Economic and Social Research Foundation. And I remember by then, my goal and aim was to lead an organization. I rose through the ranks to become a member of the EXCO, let me say, or management team. But then I always had this dream of saying I want to lead an organization before the age of 35. So it was a result of about 4 or 5 years of really trying to garner as much knowledge as possible, as much exposure as possible, to learn from the best. So I picked a couple of people from whom I wanted to learn. And then I got that call. Fortunately, when I joined the board of the Foundation for Civil Society, the position of the executive director was vacant. In about a couple of months of my participation in the board, colleagues in the board requested me if I would be interested to actually join the foundation as an executive director. And finally, I joined the Foundation for Civil Society as an executive director. Of course, I had to step down from the board for me to be an executive director. Therefore, I joined the board in 2005, but I already had, because I was also a member of the EXCO, of the management team of Economic and Social Research Foundation, I had experience of engaging with the board, because as a member of the management, you attend board meetings. And by then I remember my board members, or the board members of the Foundation for Civil Society, were the likes of Ambassador Mwanaidi Maja, the late Alim Furuki, Professor Mkandala, Rokaza Mkandala, the likes of Balozi Juma Mapachu. So you go into a board and you learn a lot from how to be a board member. So by the time I joined the board and then later become an executive director, I already had gained a lot of experience from my immediate supervisors, but also from board members. Then after being an executive director of the foundation, I got then opportunities to expose myself or to showcase of what I could do. I remember then I was invited to join the board of directors of the East African Association of Grant Makers, I think around 2005. 2007, probably a year or two later, I was actually elected to be the chair of the association. And then I became a member of the African Association, member of the board of the African Association of Grant Makers. And then I also I became a member of the board of the Global Association of Grant Makers with headquarters, I think, in Brazil. And then around 2012, that's when I served in my first non-profit making, let me say, board. I remember I joined the board of Tanzania Ports Authority, where I was appointed by the Minister for Transport. After a year, for reasons probably I'll explain not in this session, I had to leave that board after about a year. I was actually fired, I could say so. And then 2013, that's when I was asked to join the council as the chair of the Council for Kairuki University. And I remember when they approached me, at first around 2012, I said, I don't think I'm ready to be the chair of the council. Can you give me 6 months to think? After 6 months, they actually never came back to me per se. They just sent me an appointment letter. So I had to take up that position. And then I joined Mwananchi Communications, I think in 2013. And then a couple of others, the list could be long. Only a slight correction for now, and I'm seeing Antonia is one of the participants who is the company secretary for KCB. I'm currently the chair of KCB Bank. I also chair the board of Serengeti Breweries. I also sit in the board of the East African Breweries, where I also chair the board audit and risk committee, and a few other things that I'm also chairing the board of Azania Secondary School. I think I also chair one or two others I might have skipped. So it has been a journey of learning, but it's also a journey of hard work. It means sometimes 24 hours of work, sometimes 36 hours of non-stop working, but it has been fun. Let me pause there for now. Thanks, Nike. You're breaking, Nike. I'm sorry. I think we can't hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Yes, now we do.
Yes, I'm coming back to Ms. Margaret. As you have attained a lot of board member positions in some of the largest organizations, what do you think are the mistakes maybe women are making that are hindering not to access the board positions? Because we see a lot of male obtaining these positions. Even some of the largest organizations, they have a lot of male boards. How come we don't see enough women on leadership positions? What is missing, or what are the mistakes women we're doing that are not preparing ourselves for those kind of roles? Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good one. John partially also responded to that. It's that a lot of hard work. It's a lot of commitment. And for me, I would say the barriers for most women, there are many out there actually who are capable of being board directors. And a number of research have shown that boards with women perform better. So actually they are required to be in the boards. So I would say one of the weaknesses women have is that I think they don't show up. They don't promote themselves as good material for directors. They have what it takes, but they don't promote themselves as directors. So I'll give an example of Vodacom. They advertised for the position. And in most of the advertisement these days, they would say female applications, are more preferred. But you'll find women, they will read the adverts, they will start judging themselves, thinking that either they don't have skills or they don't have the experience. What they forget is that the diversity of the board these days is not only about experience, it's also about the age. Director boards are looking for the young ones. They are looking for the inexperienced directors who can ask questions and then challenge the board on their status quo. So women don't show up. Again, they have to promote themselves, as I said. I told you in my journey, there was a time, I think four or five times, where I was approached. I didn't even know that they had that board position, but the company was looking for a director and they approached me. Why? Because I have promoted myself. I have made myself known as a good board material. So when I joined boards, I actually not there as a woman, I'm there as a director. So, how you contribute to the board leads you to another board. Again, education. It is not enough that you have finished your college. I don't know, you have your master's degree. You have to continue investing in your own personal development. Get to understand what is new, have the skills which is required in the current world business. For example, right now there is a lot of talk about data, about digital. So if you invest yourself to train, just maybe understand what is blockchain, and you can put that to your CV. So when they are looking for a director who have an idea on digital and digital transformation, you can qualify. I think women have to really show up. They have to take the opportunities. Yeah. So let me pause there a bit. Yeah, can come back later. I want to confirm also that John is actually my young brother. Yeah. Okay. So the DNA also. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Margaret. We're coming back to Mr. John on the same questions. What are some of the mistakes that you think or maybe barriers that are holding us women to access those board opportunities? What are we doing wrong?
Thanks. Maybe let me not say what you are doing or what women are doing wrong. And I think that Margaret has said it very well. I will probably just summarize or highlight a few. One, I think most professional women I have met, I'm not sure if it's natural tendency, but to expose yourself into board responsibilities requires one to get out of their comfort zone. And many, once they attain that comfort zone, they do not want to get out of comfort zone. So I think I'll throw a challenge to women who want not only board positions, but leadership positions in general. Get out of your comfort zone. Success exists outside the comfort zone. So get out of comfort zone. Do things that make you scared, uncomfortable. So, and getting into boards. I told you I was fired in a board, and it was not an easy period for one to publicly fired. My firing was in the newspapers, you see, but it's because we got out of the comfort zone, number one. Number two, and Dr. Margaret has talked about it. How do you project yourself? And I've said this probably 1,000 times. So for those who have heard me talk, this will sound like a broken record. But I most of the time see a challenge women are facing is how do you project yourself? Are you projecting yourself as a woman or as a professional? When I project myself, I don't have to that, okay, do I want to project myself as a man or as a professional? And once that professional projection, executive projection comes up, then my being a man will also come up. So I see women are contradicted. When you want to project yourself, how do you project yourself? Do you want people to look at you as a pretty woman, or do you want people to look at you as a smart human being? For boards, we are looking for smart human beings, regardless of your gender. Now, being a woman or a man is obvious. What you need to work on is to work on what is not obvious. Somebody will not know whether you're smart, you experience, you have the exposure, if you don't write well or you don't talk well. So executive projection is something that I need to emphasize. Number three, and Margaret has talked about it, women underrate themselves when a board, or undersell or underestimate themselves. When a board position or when any senior position comes up, men have the tendency of looking at the minimum number of things they can do and they will apply, while women have a tendency of looking at the minimum number of things they cannot do and then they don't apply. So if it's a Vodacom board and they say, oh, this is a big company, never been into a board, I don't think this is, I don't think I have the excellent skills in financial management, I don't think, then they don't apply. While a man will look at the 5, 10 criteria required, and they'll probably fit in only 1 or 2 or 3, and then they will apply. So I think women should not underrate or underestimate their abilities, and they should show up, as Margaret has said. The last thing probably I would emphasize for preparedness, there's expertise. That Margaret is an insurance expert, etc., etc. But that expertise itself is not good enough if it is not combined by also breadth of knowledge. You have to increase your breadth of knowledge. So when she talks about your qualifications, you can be an HR expert like yourself, Nike, but then for board, we do not require single subject experts. We require people who are multi-skilled, people who know a bit or a lot of, for example, HR, a bit or a lot of finance management, a bit or a lot of, say, technology. So how do you spend time to increase the width or the breadth of your knowledge? I always give an analog of aeroplanes. Planes that have very long wings are the ones that fly higher. The length of the wings are actually the breadth of the knowledge that one needs to acquire. Thank you.
Nike, I would add one thing to that. I would like to add the aspect of networking. In my journey, I told you twice or 3 times, I was called, I got a call from Lagos, Nigeria. Margaret, we are looking for a director. Are you available? Now that was a long call from Lagos, Nigeria. Yeah. And the other time I told you NMB, we are looking for a director. Through my network, someone said, oh, look for this lady. She will be a good director. So networking is also important. So what kind of network do you maintain? You must have also a goal. You must plan. And you know, as John said, he wanted to be a CEO. So if you want to be a director in the board, you should have a plan. So one of the plans should include your network. Network with directors. They will know when a company is looking for a director. Thank you.
Just coming back to you on the last question, and then we'll go for a Q&A session. So you have mentioned very good points here, and you know, a lot of practical things that women or women leaders can take. So let's say, for example, I've already acquired some certification for board. I've already educate myself. Like, what are the steps I can take to, you know, to be board member ready? Like, what are the steps towards that to achieve that goal as a woman leader already looking for that opportunity? Because I've seen that many women are aspiring for those opportunities. So how can we prepare ourselves so that when the opportunity comes, we are ready?
Yes, thank you again, Nike. We spoke about, having those skills, about being available, and about actually applying. These days, I think due to governance and the responsibility which comes with being a director of a board, because there's a lot of responsibility you carry as a director, most companies actually do advertise for those positions. So don't judge yourself that, I've never been a director, I cannot therefore apply. Just submit your application and go through the interview. I think it's not very easy that you will also maybe get a call like me. If you are, then fine. But I think the entry point, if you have never been a director, would be apply. When you see a position has been advertised, apply. If someone approaches you like John was, don't hesitate. Just say yes, I'll take that position. And also try to have a mentor, have a coach, have a mentor, someone who will be guiding, because it is not enough to go in a board. You might always end up serving one board. So you need a coach, someone to tell you when you are in the board, what do you do? How effective do you become? So that is another part of preparation you need. Have someone to coach you, to guide you, because I've seen in my journey in 20 years, directors, I've seen people who have served only one term because they were actually useless. They are not adding value to the company. So I'll end up there. John will add.
John, could you share the practical steps that women can, take in order to prepare themselves for these board member roles?
Okay. At the disadvantage of speaking last, but let me try to demystify one thing you have said, I think almost in passing, that you may have the qualifications of being, or certification, I think you've said. And I am not dismissing the importance of certification. But if you look at my CV today, and when I realize, yes, I've attended a couple of board trainings, but I don't even have to mention them in my CV. They are not even in my CV. The certification is like icing on the cake. It's not the primary thing that one needs to have. I'm not sure if you have seen any adverts for a board position that says amongst the requirement is certification from IODT or certification from any other board certification program. So that's important, but not necessary. A couple of things, and I think Margaret has said already. Visibility. How are you visible? Because when people sit in boardrooms, if they are headhunting, what is the likelihood that your name will come up? So what are you known for? So have you established a brand, consistent brand around something, governance, leadership, HR in your case, public relations, auditing, finance? What are you known for? And that has to be consistent. And this is where I am also challenging women. When you're building this brand, separate and quite possible, or maybe even more important, put your personal brand to completely different from your professional brand. Sometimes I'm seeing this mix up. And when people are seeing this mix up, they are confused. And the tendency of people who are confused in making decisions, they usually not decide in your favor. So visibility in terms of building a brand, it will help you getting people who will speak on your behalf, because they say, for example, Nike is known for this. for women in management. She's consistent on this one. She has breadth of knowledge. She's not only single-minded on one thing, but she can also talk about other issues. The other challenge, as part of preparation, CEOs and board directors have a tendency of preferring board members who have either had experience in the past of leading organizations, as in terms of being CEOs, or who are current CEOs, or at minimum, they are reporting to CEOs. Because remember, when you're a member of the board, you're actually the supervisor of the CEO. Now, if you don't know what it takes to lead an organization, it doesn't make you a very good candidate for a board position. So the challenge that I'm throwing for women, if you want to be a board member, first aim to be the highest you can be in your organization. If not the CEO, at least member of the ExCo. And therefore, you know what it takes to be in the board, to report to the board, what are the issues. So those are some of the issues that I might say: visibility, aim high, build your brand. And as Margaret has said, look for people that either they are your mentors, your coaches, or your sponsors, or people at least you look up to. I remember in my journey, there are people I could mention that I could look up to in terms of how do they talk, how do they present, how do they analyze things. And it is such things that have helped me in taking the steps. And am I there yet? No, I'm still learning from the best. Thanks.
Thank you so much, John, for a lot of, I was taking notes here, a lot of very practical points. Thank you, Ms. Margaret, you've shared some wonderful insights. So we have like 15 to 20 minutes to just take up for questions. Just please raise your hand, unmute yourself, and go ahead and ask the question to the person, to the speaker who you want to respond to. Thank you. I have a question to John. You have served on a number of board member opportunities, and I know there are some that they are all male. How is that board look like with all male? Like, do you guys speak about not having women there, or how does it how does it work? Because I'm curious. Like, all of the board members are all males. There's no single female. So I'm asking myself, how does it work? How do you guys even raise points without a woman voice there? That's my question.
And I'll be very honest, up to about 2 years ago, the Mwananchi Communications Board. Okay, so it's funny. I joined Mwananchi Communications Board while Mrs. Uhura Muro was the chair, and she was the only woman in the board. And then she left, Mr. Leonard Mususa joined. And then we were left with an all-men board. To be honest, men have a tendency of being, maybe at best, let me call it gender neutral. At worst, let me call it gender insensitive. We could easily sit in a meeting without noticing that there is no woman. And I think that is a case in many, many, many boards. But increasingly, when all the discussions about gender equity in governance in boards, we start asking questions. For example, Mwananchi, we have almost, not probably in writing, but now we have at least one member of the board who is a woman, but we have almost made a decision that if we are to add any new member of the board, it has to be a woman. I know of another board that we have specifically said, when I'm chairing that board, wouldn't mention because processes are ongoing, that we are saying, no, we want to add members of the board and they will first and foremost only be women, and then we look at qualifying women. So increasingly, men are becoming aware of the importance of gender equity in board representation. I remember a couple of years ago when you post a picture of members of the board of Mwananchi, the comments that you get on your Facebook or whatever pages, where are the women and where are the women, and you feel guilty. So opportunities are there, and I think discussions like this, and my challenge to you, Nike, discussions like this should not include somebody like John only like salt in the food, just enough for the taste, but not too much to spoil the food. I think bring much more men so that this becomes like a cross-gender discussion as opposed to women-only discussion. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We are waiting for questions. Please, if you have a question, just unmute yourself and ask the question. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kemibaro, and I do have a question and a comment. First, the comment, yes, the issue of having a gender balance within the boards is an important one, and especially I'll speak specifically for the insurance sector. That's the sector that I'm in, and I'm sure Margaret would agree. I think it's something that needs to be looked at. I don't know if it's a matter of policy and guidelines or associations coming in to drive that agenda, because we do know that there's value in having female members of the board. So my question is in relation to the points that have been raised by the panel and guidance in terms of how to position yourself to be the preferred board member when the selection process is there. How would this be different in the case of board opportunities relating to social enterprise, stroke non-development organizations? Because we've been talking a lot of the business related boards. How about the NGO and social enterprises? Are there any differences? And how would one go about that? I personally believe that there needs to be a balance to be well-rounded in terms of having both the business side and the social enterprise side being areas of focus as a board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Kemi. Like I'll take, then I think John will add. Although I did not mention, but once you have what it takes to be a director, you should also be available for the NGOs, as you say, not necessarily for the business, because they also at times need directors for their governance and trustee. So for me, for example, I sit in the Community Development Trust Fund, which is an NGO for helping out the less disadvantages upcountry. I chair the St. Joseph Cathedral High School, you know, just to provide that leadership which is required on that side. Again, for these institutions where I sit, there is, at least in the Community Development Trust Fund, we are 2 ladies and about 5 men. And at St. Joseph Cathedral High School, we are 2 ladies and the rest are men. But also from the faith-based you know, from your church community. So I chair the parish council of my parish, St. Joseph Cathedral. So what do I do there? I try to bring in the governance. Make, yes, not for profit, but governance is required in all those areas. So I think once you're there, you must be available. As John said, it is really hard work, but you must be available, even if it's not for the business case. So because we need governance in all entities, basically, whether for profit or not for profit. Yes, that's me.
Nike, just to add a line or two, I see Juliana wants to ask a question. If you do not have, even when you, I mean, let me say, if you do not have any board experience, try to even volunteer for a board of a not-for-profit organization. Try, because once other boards or other governance bodies look at your CV, they will see something like, okay, you have volunteered, you have been in a not-for-profit, a community organization. And if you come from a private sector organization, you bring a lot of value to this not-for-profit, much as they might not be paying, they might not be organized. So please, my challenge to you, try to look for an opportunity to volunteer. My journey started with not-for-profit organizations. Just to give you one practical example, I was interviewing, we were recruiting for a board, and we have this excellent candidate, woman candidate, zero board experience, and you want to invite her into a corporate board. And I remember I asked her, have you not done anything for any organization in any board? And she was like, yeah, there was this small association and I served as a volunteer. I said, please put it in your CV. It will add value when we sent it to the headquarters for final decision. And actually it added value and I sit with her in the board. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. I think we have Juliana. Please come on the stage and ask your question. Okay, we have a question from Mercy. Please come on the stage.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mercy Mchechu, and I would like to, first of all, congratulate all of you for this opportunity, because there has been a lot of important points that have been raised. And I just have a question, or rather, I don't know, maybe a suggestion, as to be able to deliberately add number of women on boards. Should a country like have a policy regarding that? Or do you think now do you guys think that we can be able to raise the number of board members, women board members, without having a policy in place? Because I know that for most countries who have been able to do this, they actually have a policy in place that says maybe for every board, there should be around maybe 20% or 30% women. I don't know, something like that. Do you think that if we do have a policy like that, that governing how the boards are being formed, we will move, faster towards the having more female on board? Or do you think that we don't have enough qualified women to be able to be able to be placed on all those boards if we have such a policy in place?
Ms. Margaret, would you like to share, or Mr. John?
Yeah, I would say yes and no. It's good to have a target. And I think many companies within their board charters or within their governance policies, they do have a target for having a diversity board, which nowadays, as I said earlier, is not only about women, but also about the age, having the youngster also on board. Yeah, that is another topic which is also on a discussion now. I'm one person who really believe that people should be given based on their merits. So yes, I know we have, I can say we have enough women to sit in boards, but as we discussed earlier, they need to show up. I think it's not about the numbers. I believe there are so many women capable of sitting in boards, but they have to, make themselves available, show up. Yeah. So yeah, for me, just filling a number, I think that will not work. They have to be capable. Yeah. Although it's good, I'm not saying yes and no. It's good to have a target. John, you can add to that.
And I'm glad I hesitated and Margaret went first, because she has put it in a very wise form. A target is different from policy. Policy will set a minimum. A target will set aspirations. We have used the same approach for political positions, where we are saying at least 30% of the members of parliament should be women. And I am not sure if we open up a discussion on whether that's the best way of achieving gender equity in the parliament, it's going to be a long discussion. So I think putting a target and throwing this challenge out there and having conversations like this and asking women to show up. I remember once I was talking to Sanjay, and Sanjay was giving an example. He was in a plane and met, of course, one of these ardent supporters of women positions in the board. And this lady was going throughout the play, I mean, the flights complaining about, okay, why don't you have so many women in the board? And as they were departing, they were parting ways, Sanjay told her, I think, like, okay, I take up your challenge and I am asking you to give me 10 names of potential women who I could propose in various boards. And that was like 6 months down the line, those 10 names had not come his way. So I think the work that Wima is doing, Naike and colleagues, it's an absolutely beautiful work, such that when we are to make decisions, we know where to go, where to look, and where the database could be, as opposed to just setting policy. If you use it using legislation or policies, you might have figurehead representation, but not based on competencies and merit, as Margaret has said. Thanks.
Margaret, I don't know if you have any more questions, comments, or suggestions at this point to the audience.
Are you talking to us?
Yes, I was asking if there's any more questions for the panelists. Okay, it looks like we don't have any more questions and comments. Maybe I will just to go back to you guys for the final thoughts, and then we'll drop with a conclusion and end the session. John, what are your final thoughts on how women can go about it? If there's anything that you would like, final points.
Okay, so I'm thinking as I'm speaking, so probably it will be all mumbo jumbled. But if you're aiming to be a member of the board, it's a decision of being an ego. You know, the success of this flying thing called ego is the fact that the ego takes herself or himself out of the situation, stays so far high above, and looks at things, and that's why we have something we call ego's eye perspective. So in our professional conduct, to what extent are we training ourselves to be egos, to have ego's eye perspective, such that we should be able to pick where the prey is? That means when you go into a board meeting, you should be able to have that ego's eye perspective and pick where you think you should focus your attention for that board meeting. That requires mental training, as opposed to a chicken who is just scratching the sand every day looking for something to eat. So it's a choice one has to make, and it's a choice women have to make, taking themselves up and behave in an ego's eye perspective as opposed to being chicken. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Miss Margaret?
Yeah, thank you, Nike. First of all, I want to thank you for this session. I think it's good, and as John said, you know better, you will arrange more. What I can say to the participant here and to the others is that board positions are governance position, are leadership positions. And the good thing about women is that we are all naturally leaders. We have the leadership in us. All we need is to battle it up with, you know, as John said, skills, integrity. I cannot emphasize this more. Integrity, what is your brand? What are you known for? Try first of all to work on your brand. Let us get to understand who is Nike, so that when we are looking for someone or Nike has sent in an application, we can you know, very quickly take them on board. I think women should not behind, you know, I know some very capable women who always, they think that they are not ready. They always think 1 more year, you know, 2 more years. Start now. As John said, volunteer, apply, be there. That's it, that's the journey. I've had this journey for 20 years. 2001, I have never been, I was not a director before when I joined the board. I had never been a director, but I learned, I picked up what it takes. So 20 years down the line, I'm still a director, and I can say a sort of director. People are looking for me for their boards. So you have to work on yourself. I'll end there. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the wonderful insights that you guys have shared. Some very key points. Women, we have to show up. We have to improve our visibility in terms of building our personal brands. We also have to sharpen our skills in terms of expanding our knowledge, not only in the areas that we are an expert to, we also have to expand in other areas. And also taking volunteer opportunities for board member roles, especially in the NGO sectors. Usually those ones are readily available. So, so that we can build our profile and showing our board experience. And also, we should not underestimate ourselves as, as leaders, and we can do so much. So it's just that we have to believe in ourselves and our capability, because if we cannot believe in ourselves, who will? So it's really up to us in order for us to change the narrative and show that, women are capable. We are the ones who have to show the example that we are capable. And sending our applications there instead of just complaining that we don't have women available. It's us, it's coming back to us. So I would like to thank everyone who has taken your precious time to join us. And we're going to have a lot of more of these sessions on how we can improve ourselves to access these opportunities. I would like to thank the speakers, Mr. John Ulanga and Ms. Margaret, for your wonderful insights. I would like to thank everyone who have participated in this session. As we have said before, we'll share the recordings to all the people who have registered so that you can go back and take notes and apply what you've learned. So we're hoping to see change in our own country. We're hoping to see the number of boards having a lot of females. Let's apply what we have learned here. Thank you so much. Asante.
Thank you, Nike. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening, nice weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Take care. Yeah. And you know what I mean when I say take care.
Okay.
Yeah.